Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here today with episode 1888 on this Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday show, where today we are going to be able to link up your health and wellness with your ability to lose or gain weight whenever you want. So today's topic is really about uncontrolled weight gain. So it's why do so many people have an inability to lose the weight and keep it off? Because, right now we're speaking to thousands of integrative health practitioners on this podcast, many health practitioners around the world, and many people dealing with their own health and weight loss issues, or weight gain issues, we should say. So why is that? Well, it's because people are being told on a daily basis that the best way to lose weight is to change their macros, right? Reduce their carbs, or eat less calories, or both, or expend more energy through exercise. And I'm here to tell you today that that is one of the least efficient and oversimplified ways to lose weight that I've ever heard about. And it's simply perpetuated by what I learned 20 years ago in the fitness-based field that, hey, if you're not losing weight, just drop your calories. And we have to understand as practitioners that as the decades go by and progress, we need to progress in the way that we help our patients and wellness clients and fitness clients as well. So if you have a client that is dealing with weight gain issues, or you're dealing with weight gain issues yourself, that's what today's podcast is all about. But it's because it looks at a much larger picture of what's going on in your body called metabolic syndrome. So it doesn't mean that every person that has gained weight and can't take it off is suffering from metabolic syndrome, but almost everyone suffering from metabolic syndrome is typically overweight. So let me make this a little bit more clear. What is metabolic syndrome, and how does it explain all of this uncontrolled weight gain? Meaning you're eating the same type of food as other people, right? Same type of food. Maybe it's healthy, maybe it's not, but it's the same type. And you're moving your body about as much as anybody else, your friends as well. But yet you gain weight more easily, and you can't take it off as easily or keep it off. So what gives? Well, we need to look at this. It's something called metabolic syndrome. And so it explains this to a far greater degree. So let me go through what metabolic syndrome is, and then we're going to help you reverse engineer this to be able to take the weight off, lose the weight. So metabolic syndrome is having elevated blood pressure above the normal 130 over 85. Okay. Normal would be 120 over 80, and certainly elevated now is 130 over 85. Used to be 135 over 85 to 90, but now they've lowered that. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not a good thing because now they're prescribing more blood pressure medication to more people than ever before. But your body, I can tell you this, it's certainly not lacking blood pressure medication in order to rebalance itself, because when you're healthy and you didn't have high blood pressure, you certainly didn't need that medication. So what gives? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show as well. So we know metabolic syndrome is high blood pressure. It's also high blood sugar. So if you wake up in the morning and your fasting glucose is above 100, you don't have to be type 2 diabetic yet. But if your fasting glucose is above 100, well, you're leaning more towards metabolic syndrome because it's uncontrolled blood sugar. Because you're not able to tap into as much body fat during the best time of the day to burn body fat, which is about 7 at night to 7 in the morning, 6 at night to 6 in the morning, while you're not consuming any food, while you're in a more relaxed state. Your body should be able to tap into body fat as its primary fuel at that time. But if your blood sugar is high, you're not going to be able to. So that's a really important point. And you can test your blood pressure right at home, right? Absolutely. And so we'll link that up here today with the blood pressure monitor that I recommend to test right at home. Test it first thing in the morning and test it before bed as well in the evening. Blood sugar. Even if you only test your blood sugar once a day, I have many shows on using the glucometer, but even if you only test it once a day, test it upon waking. It should be between 75 and 90 for your blood sugar. All right, and that's milligrams per deciliter. Now, the next part of metabolic syndrome is high triglycerides. That means when you go to get your annual blood work with your PCP, have them run your cholesterol profile. Okay, so you want your cholesterol typically between 160 and 200 to play it safe. You want your LDL below 110. You want your HDL above a 49, ideally above a 59. And you want your triglycerides around a 75, okay, somewhere between 50 and 75. But if your triglycerides are above 150, well, you're considered moving towards metabolic syndrome as well. The next is if your cholesterol is your LDL is high, above that 110, and your HDL is below 50 or 49, well, then you're more towards metabolic syndrome. And there's one more. If your waist circumference is above 40 for men and 34 for women, you fit in this category as well. And the last one I would personally add is BMI. If your BMI is above a 29, you literally have a 32% higher increase in mortality and metabolic syndrome. So these are all things that we need to consider. So I'm going to go through that list again. And I'm just going to ask you, do you have high cholesterol or do you not know? Do you have high triglycerides? Do you have high blood sugar? Do you have high blood pressure? And are you overweight? And that includes the waist circumference. Because if you are, not only does it lead to a very challenging time, and I'm going to explain why, of losing the weight and keeping it off, but it leads to what I spoke about yesterday on the podcast. And I hope that you tuned into yesterday's podcast, which was episode 1887, because you're leading more towards heart disease, high blood pressure and stroke, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. Those are the 4 leading causes of mortality, and they're all preventable. And again, a cancer I talked about is more of the wild card, but 75% of it is. So if you don't fall prey to any one of those things, you're going to live a long, healthy life, most likely. So here's what I want you to think about today. Let's put the weight loss aside just for a moment. Because if I can help you get healthy, the weight's going to come off naturally. We've seen that now for 20 years in our practice. A healthy body can't be overweight. It simply can't. And I want to share with you why. So before I get to why, just understand that maybe you haven't looked into this metabolic syndrome as much, is what I just spoke about. All these different numbers lead to what's called metabolic syndrome or syndrome X and all these different names. But we want to look at it like this. Fatty liver, PCOS, sleep apnea, type 2 diabetes, which I spoke about, a lot of autoimmune issues, a lot of uncontrolled inflammation, a lot of fibromyalgia. A lot of these things come from all of the numbers that I just spoke about before: cholesterol, triglycerides, blood pressure, blood sugar, being overweight. All right, really, really important. Because if you're dealing with any things that I just spoke about, you want to make sure that you're controlling those numbers up top. Now, you could say to yourself, well, I can take a statin to lower my cholesterol. I can take a calcium channel or beta blocker for my blood pressure or diuretics. I can take metformin or any number of drugs for my blood sugar. And you can go down all the pharmaceuticals. The problem is those pharmaceuticals do not and never attempt to correct any of the underlying imbalances that cause those in the first place. And remember, genetics is only a small part of the equation. Because you didn't have the heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, etc., when you were 8 years old, most likely. And you had the same exact genetics. What happened was you filled up that rain barrel. That's what I talk about in my book, the rain barrel effect. It's what did you do to fill up that rain barrel? Because if we figure that out, well, we know how to empty the rain barrel the same way. So it's why I invite you to look at the stress, the toxicity, the poor nutrition, the lack of exercise, the emotional imbalance, the poor sleep routines. It's all of those things called the de-stress protocol that I speak about. So we can go about truly fixing anything in the body. We really can. We can rebalance the body in miraculous ways. It doesn't mean we create miracles. It simply looks miraculous from the outside. How did this happen? How did it happen? Well, it went about being corrected and rebalanced through finding those underlying root causes. So you might say to yourself, well, how does high cholesterol, high blood pressure lead to uncontrolled weight gain? Well, you have to understand is that most of these things, including the weight gain, come from a lot of an uncontrolled and unchecked inflammation. So will eating less help? Well, to a degree, right? Will controlling your carbs help? Yeah, absolutely, to a degree. There's no doubt about it. Will exercising help? Yes, absolutely, to a degree. But it does not rebalance the actual underlying root causes in your body. So the inflammation is still there, just to less of a degree while you're doing those things, which for most people we know are nearly impossible to maintain. So we have to look at this from a more holistic approach. So we need to understand is that the more weight you gain, or a client or patient of yours gains, the more adipose tissue they create. And I shouldn't actually even say adipose tissue cells or tissue, but I should say the growth of the adipose cells or tissues become larger. And as they become larger, we know that there's more toxicity in them. There's most likely more toxic hormone, xenoestrogen storage in there. And we certainly know that there's more inflammation created just from extra weight gain. So as we increase weight, we increase inflammation. Specific inflammatory markers called interleukin-6 are elevated. We create more inflammatory prostaglandins in the body. What does that lead to? Well, it could lead to anything you're genetically predisposed to. So arterial-based conditions, migraines, headaches, skin rashes, joint pain, any autoimmune issue. Because we have more inflammation in the body. So the immune system becomes more imbalanced, okay? We also what? Well, we start to produce less of the fat-burning hormones. Adiponectin being one of them. So if we're producing less of the fat-burning hormones, we're obviously not able to tap into body fat in the same way. And this is just inflammation. I'm not even talking about blood sugar dysregularity right now. We've done many shows on blood sugar dysregularity. I mean, if your blood sugar is elevated, you're not going to be burning as much body fat, and your leptin and ghrelin levels, your fat-burning hormones are thrown off as well. So do keep in mind, though, that all this inflammation over time does disrupt your cells. And that's why your body is not able to produce the correct amount of insulin. Because the more stress hormones you produce from all this inflammation, well, the more glucose or glycogen is broken down in your bloodstream, just means there's more sugar in your bloodstream. Then your pancreas produces more insulin. And as you're producing more insulin, well, now you're going to start to try to drive more sugar into the cells. And over time, you become desensitized, insulin desensitized. This does not then allow for the proper production of insulin over time, which can lead to type 2 diabetes, etc. So we have a very complex set of hormones and neurotransmitters and inflammatory markers going on in the body. And I explain all this to you today, not because I expect everyone to fully understand all the biochemistry, but just to impress upon you, not impress you, but impress upon you the role of looking deeper and more holistically into your health if you're looking to take the weight off. Because, and this really goes out there to a lot of the practitioners as well. I feel in the fitness field, we do a disservice to many of our clients who are looking to lose the weight by simply saying, you must be overeating, or you must not be moving your body enough, because many are. I started many years ago before I had the knowledge of all of this, and I didn't understand why. I didn't understand why a client would be eating well and they'd be exercising, they couldn't take the weight off, and then they would go on vacation for a week and just eat normally and relax and not exercise, and they'd come back and they'd lose 5 pounds, and I had no idea why at 22, 23 years old. And then I later realized, wow, this person has high levels of cortisol, lower levels of thyroid hormone, higher levels of estrogen, lower levels of progesterone. This person is a chronically inflamed state, chronically stressed state. And by realizing that later, I was then able to say, okay, we don't need to overdo it on the diet. We don't need to overdo it on the exercise. We actually have to focus more on your health. We need to focus on your sleep. We need to focus on the good nutrition we put in your body, not just calories, but actual nutrition. Nutrition is what truly matters. Getting in enough brightly colored fruits and vegetables every single day to let your body know that you're not starving, to get all those antioxidants in there. I can't say it enough of how important this is. And also the fact that many people, that are currently overweight or suffering from metabolic syndrome, again, the high blood pressure, high blood sugar, the high triglycerides, the high cholesterol, the being overweight, they are severely deficient in many of their micronutrients, not macronutrients. And the more they diet and the more exercise, the more they get depleted. I cannot tell you the amount of labs we've run for micronutrients. It's in the tens of thousands, well over 50,000 labs, I'm sure. When you look at it, what do you begin to see? You begin to see chronic magnesium deficiencies, chronic vitamin D deficiencies, chronic chromium, selenium, and many other nutrients. And we know that. It's backed up by science now. About 30%, maybe even higher, of people with metabolic syndrome are severely deficient in magnesium. And over about half are low in vitamin D. And believe me, these are actual not disease-based ranges, but blood work-based range. That's not even functional deficiencies. And when you take into account that about 1 in 3 people in the US have metabolic syndrome and don't even know it, you begin to see how many people are actually deficient in these micronutrients. Now, I want to share with you something else, because this doesn't have to be complicated in order to be able to rebalance your body. So we're talking about serious disease states here. So I don't want to say that I'm providing any medical treatment or diagnosis or any cures. But what I am saying is that you're able to rebalance your body. There's no doubt about that. And you're able to rebalance your body in such a way that you eliminate the root causes that lead to dis-ease in the first place. Not disease, but a dis-ease of the body. And when you do that, when you eliminate those things, you make it impossible for your body to be unhealthy. You also make it impossible for your body to be overweight. Remember, a healthy body can't be sick. A healthy body also cannot be overweight, because by definition, being overweight leads to larger amounts of inflammation. Larger amounts of inflammation throw off hormones. Larger amounts of inflammation store more toxins in fat cells. Larger amounts of inflammation throw off blood sugar. So when you throw off all those things, by nature, you are not healthy, which is why when I talk to people about weight loss, I do it from a health perspective. What body image you are looking to create for yourself is personal. It's up to you. It's really none of my business, to be honest with you. My business is to help you get healthy. That's all I care about. And so for all those people, though, who have struggled out there for years and years and decades and not been able to keep the weight off, there is an answer. And the answer lies with rebalancing the deeper levels of health in the body, of using the de-stress protocol, diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest and sleep-based protocols, emotional balance, the micronutrients I spoke about, the supplement protocols that are backed up by science, and a success mindset, that you can do it and you will do it. It's not a matter of if, but simply a matter of when you're able to achieve it. The best way I can tell you to go about this is there's 2 different ways. The first one, and it is the best one, is to run the Big 5 labs. There's just no doubt about that. The Big 5 labs will tell you your inflammatory markers from your omega-6 to your omega-3. It'll tell you your micronutrients, all your vitamins, all your minerals. It will tell you about your gut function, if that's causing inflammation. It will tell you about all your hormones. It'll tell you about your adrenal glands, your estrogen, progesterone, your testosterone, your DHEA, your thyroid hormones. It'll tell you about your blood sugar. It will also go about looking at your heavy metals. It'll tell you about your food sensitivities that are causing inflammation. There's nothing better than the Big 5 labs. But if you can't do that, then I recommend running one additional one. Or you could look at it 3 ways. The Big 5 would be the best. Then you could look at the starter kit. And then after that, if that was not in your budget, you could do what's called the stress hormones, mood, and metabolism test. That is the metabolic test we use for a lot of these metabolic-based syndromes. It's not going to test your cholesterol or triglycerides, but it's going to give you basically everything else that you do need to know. You can always run your cholesterol and triglycerides with your PCP, and that should be covered by your health insurance. And we're actually working on a lab to be able to test your cholesterol right at home. But I need all the labs that I choose have to go through a very rigorous process of double-blind placebos that I do. Where I actually run my own lab work at a lab, doing a venous-based blood draw, alongside at the same exact time, the cholesterol-based test to make sure they match up. And I do that with multiple people. So it's very, very rigorous by the time you ever see one of the labs. All of these labs are available for you. They're open sourced. You don't have to go to your doctor to do them. You can find them at equi.life. That's EQUI.life. This is an open-sourced functional medicine website that allows you to essentially get all these concierge-based services right at your fingertips, that you can run them right at home for you, yourself, any of your loved ones. So that's my highest recommendation, is run the Big Five, if not the starter kit, and then if not the stress hormones, mood and metabolism. Now, if you're not able to run any labs, at the very least, I would look into running a functional medicine detox, 21 days. And then after that, I would move into the daily foundational protocol level 2 or level 3. That's a starting point. Again, I can't give you everything all in one podcast, but I do have 1,886 previous podcasts that I do invite you to tune into to really learn about all of the fine tuning of being able to get yourself healthy, be able to get yourself well, and be able to keep the weight off for life. For all the labs and all the protocols, head on over to Equilife. That's EQUI.life. That's the website. And of course, I'm always happy to answer your questions and comments. You can leave them at cabralsupportgroup.com. That's our free Facebook support group. Or leave a comment right at Instagram or YouTube, right below this video on YouTube, which is just my name, Stephen Cabral, and the same on Instagram as well. Again, I'm here to help in any way I can. Just let me know. Take care. And of course, please do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve. Have an amazing day. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. And before you go this week, coming off of our functional medicine detox, I want to make sure that you are set up for success for the next 12 weeks. This is why we are offering 20% off for life. That means 20% off each and every month, 2 of our most popular protocols. That is the Daily Foundation Protocol Level 2 or Level 3, and that is your daily nutritional support, your 22 organic fruits and vegetables in the daily fruit and vegetable blend, your omega-3s, your daily probiotic, and if you do level 3, your daily digestive enzyme. That means you're going to be covered. You're going to get all of your vitamins, all of your minerals. You're going to get your detox factors. You are going to get your 15 grams of hypoallergenic vegan-based protein with all the amino acids in it. You're going to be getting 22 different fruits and vegetables every day in that greens or rainbow colored powder. You are also going to be getting the omega-3s that you need to keep your body healthy and with balanced levels of inflammation. You're going to be getting your 50 billion low histamine probiotics on a daily basis, plus that daily digestive enzyme to help you break down your food that much better and reduce the bloating. So that is our daily foundation protocol, level 2 or level 3. I do level 3 every single day. I don't miss a day. If I'm doing a fun breakfast on the weekend, I still do my daily foundation protocol level 3. I get those nutrients every single day. It's my fail safe to keep my body healthy and strong and energetic. And for those people looking to up the fat burning potential of their body, you definitely want to check out our Fatlocity system. It is the first ever day and night 24-hour fat burning system backed by science. That means this is not conjecture, it's not hearsay, it's not hype. These are 25 scientific studies showing that the formulation we've created actually helps you to burn more body fat even at night. So check that out. That is fatlocity.com, or the best way to do it is just go to equi.life for all of these items, and you'll be able to find them. equi.life/fatlocity, and just go to equi.life for the daily foundational protocol as well. While supplies last, that means all this week actually. Yeah, so this is unlimited. So this is not while supplies last, but it does end on April 11th. Okay, so this offer is good through April 11th. You can actually save 20% for life by signing up for a subscription for Daily Foundation Protocol Level 2 or Level 3 or Fatlocity. Check it out over at equi.life, and of course, let us know if you have any questions.